The great ship Endurance glided silently across the stars, its engines humming with a steady pulse. Captain Mark stood on the bridge, staring out at the swirling blue and green planet ahead. Oron 5 was a world unlike any other. Covered in endless ocean, it was a place the galaxy's best explorers had called the Graveyard of Dreams. No other species dared to set foot there. It was too dangerous, too wild, and too mysterious. Mark knew this. He had heard the warnings. The aliens in the galactic nexus, the council that watched over the stars, had even warned humanity against trying. Oron 5 is deadly, they said. Its oceans swallow everything. But Mark was not afraid. He knew the crew of the Endurance was ready for any challenge. They were not just explorers. They were the best humans had to offer. Brave, smart, and full of hope. The ship's deck was buzzing with activity. Crew members ran tests on their suits, checking the seals and oxygen tanks. Jenna, the lead scientist, was already busy in the ship's lab, analyzing data from the preliminary scans. She had worked with Mark for years, studying new planets and strange places. She trusted him, and he trusted her. "Captain, the ocean's surface is coming into view," reported Haruto, the ship's navigator. His voice was steady, but Mark could tell he felt the weight of what was about to happen. No one had ever made a successful landing on Oron 5. The ocean's waves could be the size of buildings. The winds were strong enough to break apart a starship. But Mark knew that risk was part of being human. They didn't explore to play it safe. They explored to discover. The Endurance touched down on a narrow strip of sand that looked like it could be swallowed by the ocean at any moment. The crew stood on the edge of the beach, their suits glinting in the sunlight. It was beautiful in a way that felt almost unreal. The blue water stretched as far as they could see, and the white waves crashed onto the shore in a never-ending rhythm. The sound was both calming and terrifying. "Captain, we're ready for the first dive," Jenna said, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and nerves. She looked out at the ocean with wide eyes. The humans who had come before them had only dared to stand on the edge, never to go into the deep. Mark nodded, his heart beating faster. He took a deep breath, trying to ignore the feeling of doubt that nipped at the back of his mind. It was a moment like no other. They were about to do what no other species had done. They were going to prove that humans were more than what others believed. They were going to show the galaxy that even in the face of the impossible, they could rise. "Let's go," Mark said. He led the team down to the water's edge, the fine sand cold under his boots. The waves crashed around their feet, the water glistening as it surged and retreated. It was strong, but so were they. They were human, and this was just the beginning. The team exchanged nervous glances, but each one of them nodded. The journey into the unknown had begun. As the crew stepped into the cool embrace of the water, they had no idea how much it would change everything, not just for them, but for all of humanity. Oron 5's deadly ocean had met its match, and humanity was ready to make history. The cold water of Oron 5 pressed against Mark's suit as he waded further from the shore. The ocean seemed alive, moving with a powerful force that was both beautiful and frightening. The crew stood together, their helmets glinting in the bright sunlight, eyes wide with both awe and worry. It was one thing to land on the beach, but now they were stepping into the true danger of the planet. Jenna checked her suit one last time. "Captain, the sensors are picking up strong currents ahead," she said, her voice clear and steady, but Mark could hear the slight edge of nervousness. The currents were said to be like giant underwater rivers, dragging anything that got caught into their path. If the crew got caught, they would be lost forever. Mark gave a reassuring nod. "Stay close and keep your comms on," he said, raising his hand in a small salute. The crew responded in kind, moving in a line as they started to swim into the deep. The water turned darker, the sunlight dimming as the waves carried them further away from the safety of the shore. The sound of the water changed as they went deeper. It was a deep, low rumble, like a giant breathing beneath the surface. The team moved carefully, their suits clicking and hissing as they adjusted to the pressure. Mark glanced back at Jenna, who was already recording data, her eyes fixed on the redouts that flashed in her visor. "Captain, look," shouted Haruto. His voice crackled through the comms, and Mark turned to see what he was pointing at. Just below them, glowing creatures drifted through the water. They were unlike anything they had seen before, long and thin with bright, neon colors that lit up the dark sea like stars. It was strange and beautiful, but Mark couldn't help feeling a shiver run down his spine. The aliens who had warned them about this planet had said it was empty of life. Yet here they were, surrounded by wonders no one had ever seen. Mark and the team swam closer, careful not to disturb the strange creatures. Jenna raised a hand and pointed to a formation of tall, thin rock structures that rose from the ocean floor like the ruins of a forgotten city. It was clear that something had once lived there. The rocks were covered in barnacle-like growths and tiny plants that pulsed with blue light. "Captain, these structures, they're not natural," Jenna said, her voice soft with wonder. Mark took a breath, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. This was what they had come for, proof that Oron 5 was more than just a death trap. There was life here, and maybe even a history they hadn't expected. He glanced around at his crew, seeing their faces light up with hope. They were on the edge of something big, something that could change everything they knew about the galaxy. The crew spread out, moving carefully around the strange rock formations. The water was growing colder, and the currents were getting stronger, tugging at their suits. But Mark held his ground. This was just the first step. The real test was yet to come. As the team ventured deeper, the sound of the water changed again, a sharp, fast whooshing that grew louder. Mark's heart raced as he realized what it was. A current, stronger than anything they had felt so far, was headed straight for them. It was time to prove they were ready for what lay ahead. "Hold on," Mark shouted as the current swept through the team, pulling them deeper into the unknown. The current swept through the water like a giant's hand, pushing Mark and his crew deeper into the heart of Oron 5's ocean. The force was powerful, tugging at their suits and making it hard to swim against. Mark felt the weight of the pressure increase, his chest tightening as his body struggled to keep up. His helmet's display flashed warnings, but he ignored them. They had come too far to turn back now. "Keep moving." Jenna's voice crackled through his comms, sharp with urgency. She was ahead of him, her suit trailing bubbles like a comet as she fought the current. Mark pushed forward, his arms cutting through the cold water. His eyes locked on her as she reached out to steady herself against a tall, jagged rock. Then he saw it, a flicker of light in the distance. It was small at first, a quick flash that seemed to dance in the water. But as Mark got closer, the light grew brighter and clearer, revealing a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a long, thin being with a body that glowed in shades of blue and green. Its skin shimmered like liquid, changing colors as it moved. The creature seemed to notice them too. It paused mid-water, its large, round eyes fixed on Mark. The crew slowed down, their movements careful, not wanting to scare the creature away. Mark's heart pounded as he reached out a hand, slowly moving forward. The being tilted its head, its glow shifting from blue to a soft, pulsing white. "Captain, it's looking at us," Jenna whispered. The crew gathered around, the water now feeling less like a barrier and more like a new world that welcomed them. The creature didn't seem afraid. In fact, it looked curious. Mark tilted his head, trying to show that they meant no harm. "Hello," he said, the word muffled but clear inside his suit. The creature's eyes blinked, and then it moved closer, weaving through the water like it was dancing. Its body gave off a soft hum that Mark could feel through the vibrations in his suit. The crew exchanged glances, surprised by the peaceful interaction. No one had expected this. Jenna held out her hand, careful not to touch the glowing creature, but close enough for it to see. The creature floated closer, its glow pulsing and changing colors as if responding to Jenna's actions. It let out a sound, a high-pitched note that was both beautiful and haunting. Mark looked at Jenna, seeing her eyes light up with wonder. "Captain, it's communicating," Jenna said. "I think it's trying to tell us something." Mark nodded. They had come here to explore, to learn what Oron 5 held. They had hoped to find signs of an old civilization or proof that life could survive here. But this was something more. This creature was proof that life thrived here in ways they never expected. The water around them began to calm, the current less strong now. The creature moved closer, touching Jenna's suit with a soft, glowing tendril. The crew watched in silence, their fear replaced by awe. It was not just a meeting of humans and unknown creatures. It was a sign that the secrets of Oron 5 were more than they had imagined. They had found the first proof that life could adapt, survive, and even thrive in this deadly ocean. And with it came the realization that they were no longer alone in the depths of this mysterious world. As the Endurance continued its mission on Oron 5, news of humanity's discovery spread quickly across the galaxy. The footage of Captain Mark and his crew swooning in the deep, surrounded by glowing creatures, sent ripples through the galactic nexus. The council, made up of leaders from different species, convened to discuss the unexpected turn of events. The council chamber was filled with noise. Beings of all shapes and sizes argued over what to do. Zeltra, a tall, lizard-like creature with scales that shimmered like polished silver, slammed a clawed fist onto the table. "This is madness. Oron 5 is a place of death. The humans are reckless, and their so-called proof is nothing but tricks of light and water." "But they survived," said Darnock, a wise old being with 3 eyes that seemed to see everything. His voice was calm but strong. "They have shown us that life can exist where we thought it impossible. We should not ignore this." Zeltra's eyes narrowed, and he scoffed. "Life? We all know Oron 5 is nothing but a graveyard. No intelligent species has ever tried to live there. And they should not. What is next? Will they try to tame a star?" Darnock did not respond to the insult. He looked around at the other council members, seeing a mix of fear, curiosity, and stubbornness in their eyes. This was more than just about Oron 5. It was about humanity's place in the galaxy and what it meant for the future. Meanwhile, on Oron 5, Captain Mark and his crew were busy studying the creature they had found. They called it the Lumen Asterisk, named for the way its body glowed and shifted colors. Jenna, the lead scientist, watched the creature with wide eyes as it moved gracefully through the water, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. "It's like it's communicating," Jenna said, reaching out as if to touch it. The Lumen Asterisk paused, and its glow turned a soft, warm blue. It emitted a low hum, almost like a song. The crew watched in awe, unable to believe what they were seeing. This was proof that life not only existed in the depths of Oron 5, but that it could be intelligent and aware. Back on Earth, the footage was broadcast everywhere. People watched with excitement and disbelief as humans, in their specialized suits, moved through the dangerous waters and encountered creatures that seemed to understand them. The story of Oron 5 sparked hope and wonder. It showed that humanity could survive and adapt in places no other species had dared to explore. But not everyone was happy about it. The council members of the Galactic Nexus argued fiercely. Some were impressed by human bravery and determination. They saw the discovery as a sign that humanity was growing stronger and more capable. Others, however, were fearful. They saw it as a threat to their power and control over the galaxy. A tall, dark-robed figure stepped forward, his voice deep and commanding. "We cannot allow this. Humanity must be kept in check. They should not be allowed to spread this dangerous idea further." Darnock spoke up again, his voice steady. "We should observe and learn from them, not stop them. Humanity's spirit is strong, and it can teach us all something valuable." The debate continued, but the fear was clear. Humanity had done something no one expected, and that worried those who liked things to stay as they were. Captain Mark and his crew, unaware of the arguments taking place across the stars, continued their exploration. They knew their mission was important, but they did not yet understand the challenges they would soon face. The story of Orion 5 was just beginning, and the future was full of questions and dangers yet to come. The sun was high in the sky, casting long bright beams over the endless blue ocean of Orion 5. Captain Mark stood on the edge of the ship's deck, staring out at the sparkling water. The crew had spent days studying the lumen and its strange glowing world. The more they learned, the more questions they had. Was there more life in the ocean? Was Orion 5 home to other creatures as smart as the lumen? Captain, come quick. Jenna's voice cut through his thoughts. Mark turned to see her waving from the ship's observation window. He rushed inside, and she pointed at the screen. The image was blurry at first, but soon it focused on a dark shape moving through the water. It was large and fast, with fins like blades and eyes that seemed to glow with an inner light. Mark frowned. What is that? Jenna's hands trembled as she typed commands on the control panel. I think we just found out Orion 5's greatest secret. Before they could do more, the alarm in the ship's control room blared to life. Haruto's voice echoed over the comms. Captain, we have a problem. The lumen is acting strange. It's moving away from the area, and it looks scared. Mark's heart raced. He turned to Jenna. What could scare it? And why is it moving away? Suddenly, the ship's screen flashed with an urgent message. It was from the Galactic Nexus, a warning to all explorers in dangerous areas. Do not approach. Dangerous life forms detected. Humans, you have gone too far, the message said in a deep, heavy voice. It was the voice of Celtra, the leader of those who did not want humanity to explore Orion 5. Leave this place at once, or face the consequences. Mark felt his jaw tighten. The message was clear, and it was not just a threat. The crew's discovery had pushed someone too far, and now there was danger. Jenna looked at Mark, her eyes wide with fear. Captain, what do we do? She whispered. Mark took a deep breath. He knew they couldn't turn back now. The lumen had shown them that there was more to this world, something worth fighting for. And now, if the warning was true, it meant that whatever lurked in the deep was willing to defend it at all costs. We stay, Mark said, the determination in his voice stronger than ever. But we stay smart. We will study the deep, but we will be careful. We are here to learn, not to fight. Jenna nodded, but she was not sure it would be that simple. The Council's warning was more than just words. The galaxy was changing, and not everyone wanted humans to be a part of it. They had entered Orion 5's waters to explore, to find life. But now they were learning that discovery came with danger. Outside, the ocean looked calm, but Mark knew that beneath the surface, something watched them. The lumen glow had disappeared into the deep, and the silence that followed was more telling than any sound. Something was coming, and whatever it was, it would not let them stay without a fight. The ocean around the Endurance seemed still, but it held an uneasy tension. Captain Mark stood on the deck, staring out at the endless blue that stretched to the horizon. The crew moved quietly, their eyes on the water, their thoughts filled with the warning from the Galactic Nexus and the message from Celtra. The lumen had disappeared, leaving the crew wondering if it would return or if they were in more danger than they knew. Captain, the sensors are picking up movement, Jenna said, her voice low. She stood by the control panel, eyes wide as she studied the readout. The numbers on the screen changed quickly, showing something massive approaching from below. It's coming toward us. Mark's pulse quickened. He turned to Haruto and spoke in a low voice. Get everyone ready. We may need to move at a moment's notice. Haruto nodded, signaling the crew to take their positions. The ship's lights flickered as the deep deep ocean began to shift. For a moment, everything was silent. Then a low rumble shook through the water. It was the sound of something big, something powerful. Suddenly, a shadow passed under the ship. It was dark, long and wide, and it moved with a speed that seemed impossible for something so huge. The crew gasped as they saw it. A giant creature with a body covered in scales that reflected the little light that reached the ocean's depths. Its eyes were the size of large tanks and glowed with an eerie blue light. It's massive," Jenna whispered, her voice trembling. She had never seen anything like it. The creature's mouth opened, revealing rows of sharp, long teeth. Its body shimmered with an unnatural glow, pulsing as it moved closer. Mark's heart pounded in his chest. The warning from the council was no joke. They were not just explorers now. They were intruders in a world that had its own rules and its own dangers. The Lumen had left, perhaps knowing that this creature was coming. "Captain, it's getting closer," Haruto said, his voice shaking. The crew watched, frozen, as the massive being emerged from the deep. It was as if the ocean itself had come to life, angry and powerful. The ship creaked under the strain, its metal frame bending with the force of the water moving around them. "Prepare for impact," Mark said, his voice steady but low. He knew they were in for a fight, and they had no idea what they were up against. He glanced at Jenna, who looked back with wide, fearful eyes. The creature's eyes locked with his, as if it were sizing him up. Then, without warning, it let out a deep, resonating growl that echoed through the water and the ship. The crew held their breath. The ocean trembled, and the creature's glow shifted, changing colors in a dance of warning. It was clear, this was not just an attack. It was a challenge. The creature was guarding something deep in the ocean, something it believed was worth fighting for. Mark raised his fist and turned to the crew. "We're not going to run. We're going to stand and learn. We may not know what this creature wants, but we're here to find out." The crew nodded, their faces full of fear, but also determination. The ocean around them was dark and full of mystery. But now they knew one thing for sure. Whatever lay beneath Oron 5's waves was more than they ever expected. The real test had only just begun. The creature's glow was like a storm, lighting up the dark water with fierce, shifting colors. Its eyes, deep and bright, never left the crew as it hovered beneath the Endurance. The ship shuddered again as the creature let out a sound, low and deep, that seemed to come from the very heart of Oron 5. Mark could feel the weight of its presence pressing down on them, a force that seemed to speak of power and warning. "We need to be ready for anything," Mark said, turning to face his crew. His voice was steady, but inside, he felt the heat of fear. The message from the Galactic Nexus, the warning from Xeltra, it was all real now. This creature, whatever it was here to protect something. Jenna stepped forward, her mind racing. "Captain, if it's trying to communicate, we need to listen. Maybe we can find out what it wants before it turns hostile." Mark nodded. "You're right. Let's try something." He glanced at Haruto, who was already busy with the control panel, adjusting settings to send signals that could reach the creature. The crew stood by, hearts pounding as they waited. Jenna stepped up, holding a small, glowing device. It was a new tool made to send light signals, a simple version of what they'd seen from the Lumen. She activated it, and the light began to pulse in a steady rhythm, sending a pattern into the water. The creature's eyes narrowed as it watched, its body still but tense. It responded with a low, humming sound, and the water around it glowed with a soft blue light. "It's watching the signal," Jenna said, eyes wide with hope. "It's answering back." Mark took a deep breath. "Keep going, Jenna. Let's see if we can understand it." The crew watched as Jenna sent another pattern, this time more complex. The creature tilted its head, and its eyes changed color to match the pattern. The air around the crew grew thick with tension as the creature's glow shifted, showing a mixture of blue and green. Then it made a series of sounds, grunts, clicks, and low rumbles that echoed through the water. "It's speaking," Jenna said. "We just need to figure out what it's saying." Suddenly, the creature moved, rising closer to the Endurance *. The ship creaked as the force of the water pushed against it. The crew stood still, trying to make sense of what was happening. Mark could see it now. The creature was not just big, it was smart. It was as if it were testing them, seeing if they were a threat, or if they could be trusted. Mark's mind raced. They had come to explore, to learn. But now, they had to prove they meant no harm. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "We come in peace. We wish to learn, not to fight." The creature's eyes glowed brighter, and it let out a long, deep sound, almost like a sigh. Then it lowered its body and moved to the side, revealing what lay behind it. There in the dark was a hidden city of glowing structures built from strange, living material. It pulsed with the same light as the lumen asterisk, as if the city itself were alive. The crew gasped. This was it. Oron 5's secret, a place so beautiful and strange that they could hardly believe their eyes. "It's showing us something," Jenna said, her voice full of awe. "It wants us to see." Mark's heart swelled with a mix of wonder and fear. They had found more than they expected, and now they had to understand it. But one thing was certain. The real journey was just beginning, and whatever lay in that city would change everything. The crew of the Endurance stood on the deck, eyes fixed on the city that glowed beneath the waves. It was like nothing they had ever seen. The buildings were tall and made of a strange, living material that pulsed with light. The structures twisted and shaped themselves, like the roots of a giant tree. Soft blue and green light filled the city, and strange, glowing lines connected everything, forming patterns that looked like a map or a network. "Captain, look at that," Jenna whispered, pointing to what looked like a central tower. It rose high above the rest of the city, glowing with a bright, warm light that shifted and moved as if it had a life of its own. The creature that had led them here watched from below, its eyes still fixed on the crew. It was clear it had brought them here for a reason. Mark took a step forward, his heart pounding. He felt a mix of awe and fear. The city was beautiful, but it was also unknown. No one had ever imagined there could be such a place on Oron 5. The creature's presence made it clear that this was a place that needed to be protected. "We need to see if we can get closer," Mark said. "Jenna, get the submersible ready. Haruto, prepare the crew. We're going in." The crew moved quickly, checking their suits and equipment. The submersible, a small, sleek vessel designed to move through the deep, was lowered into the water. Mark and Jenna climbed inside, and the rest of the crew followed in their own submersibles. The deep blue water surrounded them as they moved toward the city, the glowing light growing brighter and brighter. As they got closer, Mark noticed something strange. The water around them seemed to hum, as if the city itself was alive. The creature swam beside them, its eyes never leaving their faces. It moved in a way that seemed almost protective, as if guarding them from whatever lay ahead. The submersible reached the edge of the city, and Mark stepped out, the water around him cold but clear. The city seemed to welcome them, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. Jenna reached out and touched one of the glowing walls, and it shivered under her fingers. The light changed color, shifting from blue to a soft green, as if responding to her touch. "It's alive," Jenna said, her voice full of wonder. "The city is alive." Mark looked around, seeing the crew's faces lit with a mix of fear and awe. They were standing in a place no human had ever set foot in before, surrounded by a world that seemed impossible. The city's hum grew louder, and the lines of light began to shift, forming shapes that looked like symbols. They were ancient, beautiful, and mysterious. Suddenly, a sound came from the tower. It was a voice, deep and full of power, speaking in a language they did not understand. The creature that had led them here let out a low, deep growl, its eyes wide and watching. The crew looked at each other, wondering what this voice meant and what was about to happen. Mark's pulse quickened. This was the turning point. They had discovered Oron 5's hidden secret, and now they would learn if they were friends or foes to the beings that lived here. One thing was certain. Their journey had only just begun, and the future of humanity's place in the galaxy would depend on what happened next. The silence between the crew and the creature seemed to stretch forever. Mark could feel the tension in the water, a mixture of fear and hope. The glowing city around them pulsed, and the voice from the tower was still. It was as if time itself had paused, waiting for what would come next. The creature's eyes glowed, bright and sharp. It tilted its head slightly, studying Mark with an intensity that made his heart race. Then, without warning, the deep voice from the tower spoke again. This time, it was not a song or a hum but words. They were not in a language anyone on the Endurance knew, but the sound was clearer, louder, and seemed to carry meaning. Jenna's eyes widened. "I think it's trying to tell us something," she said, glancing at Mark. Mark took a deep breath, his mind racing. He had been the first human to stand here, to be part of something that no one could have imagined. He knew they had to try to communicate, to show that they were not a threat. "Jenna, can we respond?" he asked, looking at her. Jenna nodded. "We have the light patterns. We can send them back." She activated the small device on her wrist. It pulsed with a gentle glow, creating shapes that moved in a rhythm similar to the voice from the tower. The water around them shone with blue and green light, reflecting the patterns back at the creature. It seemed to understand. The creature's eyes softened, and it let out a low, deep sound, almost like a sigh. The voice from the tower changed. The crew listened, trying to make sense of the sounds. This time, a series of words came through, clearer and more powerful than before. The words were still in that strange language, but Jenna's eyes lit up. "Captain, I think I understand. It's speaking in light and in sound. We need to match its patterns." Mark nodded, heart pounding. He glanced at Haruto, who was already setting up the light device to respond. The crew worked quickly, matching the glowing patterns to the voice's rhythm. The water around them shivered and glowed, sending signals back to the city. The creature's glow turned bright, almost blinding, and then slowly dimmed. The deep voice spoke one last time, and then silence fell. The crew held their breath. They waited for what would come next. Then, a sound like a wave crashing on rocks came from the tower. The glow of the city pulsed once, then twice, and finally steadied into a calm, soft light. The creature looked at Mark and the crew, its eyes calm and full of understanding. The voice from the tower spoke in a language they could now almost understand. "You come with peace. You may learn, but beware. Oron 5 holds secrets that can change everything." Mark felt a mix of relief and awe. The creature's warning was clear. The city and whatever lay within was powerful, full of secrets. The crew had come to explore, to find out what lay beyond the stars. Now they knew they had found something incredible, but also dangerous. Mark looked around at the crew, their faces filled with wonder and determination. "We've been given a chance," he said, "but we need to be careful. The real journey has just begun, and we're ready to learn what Oron 5 is hiding." The creature let out a soft, low hum, as if agreeing. The city's glow grew warmer, and for the first time, the crew felt they had stepped into a new chapter, where danger and discovery would shape their future forever.